Victor. I wish he was here trying to frighten us.
The first time I went, the studio was a wonderful place. It was a way of work. You'd be surrounded by paintings, and Victor was very active.
The studio itself was quite well appointed. He had a large light with fluorescent tubes, because the rooms were actually quite dark. There wasn't a lot of natural light. I knew that he'd constructed a lot of the flat himself. He seemed to be very good with wood up to a point.
His house wasn't for entertaining. It wasn't for family. It wasn't for friends. It was purely for his pursuit, which was art.
Victor lived in a windowless basement that he'd painted black with one or two lurchers, and he didn't have a bathroom, and he was experimenting with the idea of what would be his diurnal clock. Would he work on a 24-hour regime, or would it vary? And I think it varied. He worked on a sort of 27-hour day or something, so he used to wake up when everybody else was asleep and then wander about.
I know that he used to paint with the radio on. He listened to Radio 4 a lot, Mozart and Bach, and those are the sort of things he liked. He would work very hard in the morning, and then he would go and drink in the afternoon.
I do remember going to the pub quite often in Washington and being quite impressed by Victor's little red books, those little A5 notebooks, where he would be sort of scribbling away and doing his sketches. And then obviously once he had prepared his small sketches, then he would enlarge them using the cartoon style of doing the framework and graphs, and do on a larger sheet. And then he would eventually then do the oil, which is tempera on board. And tempera on board is based on it's eggshell, so it's really complicated, and it's what the Renaissance artists used. But it's very tough to quick drying, but the effect is beautiful because it's a very flat surface.
Very slow, very painstaking. With some, he got these models in these sort of extraordinary poses, which you see here. So the poor woman would have been sitting there for months like that.
When you're just lying or posing and that, you travel, you go off into another little world, which I did.
You felt that while you were modelling for him, you were actually feeding something into the situation. You weren't just lying there as a sort of asleep human being. You were really part of the process of him painting you. There was a sort of spiritual thing almost going on between you. It's very powerful and difficult to describe what it was, really. You felt that he was almost understanding what it was like being you. That he was sort of almost painting himself being you. It was a very extraordinary sort of exchange that goes on.
And then suddenly this image would start appearing. But he never got the face, he always had the hair. The hair was down. So you were quite anonymous, nobody would recognise you.
No, it was a general
just a general figure. I thought it was all quite nice and flattered. He
was doing a series again of the model in the studio, but this was a series which is kind of defined by the woman in the bath, which is sort of his iconic series.
Some magical bathroom reflection paintings, completely unique, nothing to do with anybody else, completely his own style, and done with huge passion and difficulty and obsession.
And I think he's left quite a good legacy. I don't think he's got the recognition he deserves, but maybe that will come now.